Before we begin, let's ask a question most people never stop to truly consider. Why do people fall in love with you? Have you ever met someone who couldn't stop looking at you? Someone who seemed magnetically drawn to you, for reasons even they couldn't explain? And then there are others, people you tried to impress, connect with, open up to, but it went nowhere. No spark, no interest, just silence. It's confusing, isn't it? Most people think attraction is about surface traits, looks, personality, charm. But what if the real reason someone falls for you has nothing to do with your outward identity, and everything to do with what you unconsciously activate inside them? Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, believed that love is far from random. In fact, it follows a deep inner logic, one that's invisible to the eye but undeniable to the soul. According to Jung, people are drawn to you for two powerful reasons, and neither has anything to do with who you appear to be on the outside. So in today's video, let's explore the hidden layers of attraction through Jung's fascinating lens of projection, inner archetypes, and the silent architecture of the human psyche. And to begin, let's take a look at what really drives that mysterious, magnetic pull between two people. Let's start with this. What are the hidden forces behind instant attraction? So what are these hidden forces that seem to pull two people together, so suddenly, so powerfully? Carl Jung believed that what we often call chemistry is not just about personality or physical attraction. It's the result of something much deeper, unconscious recognition. That spark you feel when meeting someone new. It's not random. It's the psyche responding to something familiar, something it has been waiting for, often without your awareness. Love, in this sense, isn't born in the moment. It's the final step in a long, invisible process that has been unfolding inside you, through your childhood experiences, your emotional wounds, your unmet needs. And when someone appears who matches a hidden part of your inner world, the mind reacts instantly. That reaction feels like magic, but it's actually memory. Not memory of that person, but memory of yourself reflected in them. This is what Jung called projection. Each of us carries unconscious material, traits, emotions, desires that we've either suppressed, rejected, or never had the chance to develop. But those parts of us don't disappear. They wait. And when you meet someone who seems to carry them, your unconscious lights up. You see something in them, but in truth, you're seeing a part of yourself. And this works both ways. Sometimes people fall in love with you not because of your confidence, your warmth, or your smile, but because, without even trying, you've stirred something inside them. Something that's been dormant. Something that's been lost. You've become a symbol, a mirror for a part of themselves they forgot they were looking for. And that brings us to the first reason why people fall in love with you. It's not because of what you show, but because of what they're missing. It's not because of what you show, but because of what they're missing. Imagine a man who's spent his life in control. He's logical, disciplined, emotionally reserved. He handles problems with reason, not emotion. But one day, he meets a woman who's different. She's alive in a way he isn't. She laughs without holding back. She cries without shame. She moves through life with passion and openness. And suddenly, he's captivated. Not just interested, enchanted. Something in her draws him in, like light through a crack he didn't know existed. But here's the truth. It's not really her he's falling for. It's the version of himself that she awakens. The part he buried. The part that never got to grow. And this is the first deep reason someone might fall in love with you. You represent what they lack. Carl Jung believed we're unconsciously drawn to people who carry traits we've denied in ourselves. The qualities we repressed, disowned, or never developed begin to call to us through others. So when someone meets you, and you effortlessly express something they've long silenced in themselves, they don't just like you. They need you. Or rather, they need what you represent. That's why opposites attract. The shy man is drawn to the outgoing woman. The chaotic soul finds comfort in someone structured. The thinker falls for the feeler. But what feels like compatibility is often something else entirely, a silent attempt at wholeness. They're not looking for a partner, they're looking for the piece that completes their unfinished inner puzzle. But this kind of love carries a hidden danger. When someone sees in you a missing piece of themselves, they often cling to you, not out of mature love, but out of unconscious longing. They place you on a pedestal. They project ideal after ideal onto you. And without knowing it, they start depending on you to keep that missing part of themselves alive. Eventually, the pressure becomes too much. You stop being the symbol they imagined. You get tired, messy human. And when that happens, the illusion begins to break. Disappointment creeps in. Not because you did something wrong, but because reality never matched the fantasy. That's how love, born from projection, quietly begins to fall apart. But not all attraction comes from missing parts. Sometimes it comes from something even deeper, something ancient. A pattern buried so far beneath the surface that when it gets triggered, it doesn't just feel intense, it feels inevitable. You awaken their inner archetype. According to Carl Jung, we all carry a subconscious image of the opposite gender, an internal figure that silently shapes who we're drawn to. For a man, it's called the anima, his inner feminine. For a woman, it's the animus, her inner masculine. These aren't preferences or types. They are deep psychic imprints, formed through childhood experiences, cultural myths, and the emotional tone of early relationships, especially with our parents. Over time, these inner figures become emotionally charged. We may not know they exist, but they're there, shaping the lens through which we view love. And one day, someone shows up, someone whose presence, words, gestures, or energy seems to match that unconscious image. And suddenly, everything clicks. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. It feels like fate, like soulmates, like you've finally found the one. But Jung would urge caution, because what feels like destiny might just be projection, again. Only this time, you're not projecting a missing quality, you're projecting a sacred symbol. This kind of projection is far more intense, because the anima and animus are not just psychological blueprints, they're emotionally loaded. When someone awakens this image in us, we don't just admire them, we idolize them. We assign meaning to every word, every glance, every silence. We convince ourselves that this is special, that this is cosmic, that this is meant to be. But the truth is, they're not a soulmate. They're a screen, and we're playing a movie that was written long before they appeared. The danger here is subtle but real. Because when the real person begins to show, their flaws, their contradictions, their human complexity, the fantasy begins to unravel. And the more sacred the image, the more painful the disillusionment. Suddenly, what felt divine becomes ordinary. What felt perfect becomes confusing. And just like that, the dream begins to fade. And when the dream begins to fade, it doesn't go quietly. At first, it's just a small feeling, an awkward silence where there used to be ease, a moment of confusion where everything once made sense. You begin to notice the little things, the way they pull away instead of lean in, the way their words no longer feel like music. And then the veil drops. The fantasy shatters. Carl Jung warned about this moment. The collapse of the illusion isn't a flaw in the relationship, it's a necessary reckoning. Because what you were loving wasn't a person. It was a projection, a symbol, a story your unconscious mind had been waiting to tell, and they were just cast in the lead role. This is the painful truth. When love is built on projection, reality always interrupts. The human being behind the image eventually shows up. They stop being the confident ideal, the gentle savior, the wild muse. They become real, messy, contradictory, inconsistent. And suddenly, the connection that once felt fated begins to feel fragile, heavy, sometimes even unbearable. And the heartbreak that follows isn't just about losing them. It's about losing the version of you that came alive in their presence. The version that felt whole, desired, understood. But here's what Jung believed, and it's something most people miss. This collapse, this breaking of the fantasy, is not the end. It's the beginning. Because beneath the ruins of idealized love is something far more real, far more powerful, if you're willing to see it. Love, at its core, is not a miracle that happens to you. It's a mirror held up for you. Carl Jung believed that every relationship we enter, especially the ones that shake us, confuse us, or even break us, is never random. Each person we fall for reflects something vital about our inner world. Sometimes they mirror our potential. Sometimes they mirror our wounds. But always, they mirror something we're meant to see. This is why love feels so powerful. Because it's not just about them, it's about you. The person you become in their presence. The pieces of yourself that come alive or fall apart when you're with them. Think back. There's probably someone in your past who brought out a version of you that felt bigger than life, more confident, more open, more alive. And maybe there's someone else who brought out your fears, your insecurities, your unresolved pain. Neither experience was wrong. Both were reflections. Both were invitations to grow. That's how Jung saw it. Romantic attraction is not the goal. It's the beginning of something deeper. An emotional trigger that sets your individuation in motion, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. Love, then, is not here to complete you. It's here to reveal you. And the people you fall for, whether they stay, leave, or disappoint, are messengers, not mistakes. They show you where you are in your own evolution, what you've embraced, what you've avoided, and who you still have the potential to become. So instead of asking, why didn't it last? Start asking, what did I see in them that I needed to see in myself? Because once you understand that, everything changes. So what's the real purpose of falling in love? According to Jung, it's not about finding your missing half. It's about discovering the half you've ignored. Every powerful attraction is a signal, not that someone else is perfect for you, but that there's something inside you ready to be awakened. That's why some relationships burn hot and fast, because they were never meant to last. They were meant to trigger, to open a door inside you that had been sealed shut, to show you what you long for, what you fear, what you've forgotten how to feel. Love, in its highest form, is a catalyst. It's not there to save you. It's there to grow you. And when you understand this, truly understand it, you stop chasing fantasy. You stop blaming others for heartbreak. You stop waiting for someone to complete you. Instead, you begin to ask deeper questions. What did this connection teach me? What part of myself did it bring forward? And how can I integrate that into who I am, on my own? Because in the end, love isn't about losing yourself in another. It's about returning to yourself through another.